Hey everyone, it is the end of autumn and it's actually not raining today, so I thought I would do a little updated garden tour. I will try and follow the same sequence as the previous ones. I will link my summer one here. Starting on this bed, you can see the calendula is still going strong. I think that is hollyhocks, I'm not sure. Everything here has filled out. I'm not going to go and name all of the plants again. That is a weed. But yeah, there's still stuff growing and there is still stuff blooming. This calendula is flopping right over this little dwarf hydrangea. Keep waiting for them to stop flowering and pull them out. Some of them have come out. This side, nothing has changed. I'm going to deal with this next spring. The end, I think also nothing has changed there, except we have trimmed down the sticking up stumps of the trees. It still needs to be neatened. This pile of rocks I talked about before, that I was going to remove this whole slope of stones. I have actually changed my mind because I have better things to do with my time than sit and spend hours and hours and hours picking rocks. So I'm actually going to cover it with soil and compost and plant it up and make a berm. This, you will recall, was the pumpkin patch. We ended up with about 20 pumpkins, so that was pretty awesome. My hydrangeas are still blooming. We have had such bizarre weather that a lot of things have decided it is spring again. I started pruning the buddleia and just dumped the branches. I'm so not into gardening right now. I've just been busy. This osteospermum is taking over the world and taking over this poor little succulent under there, so that might need a bit of a trim. Moving across to this bed, still not much going on down there. Everything else is filling in nicely. This impatiens is still blooming. I really enjoy this because, okay, there's none to show you right now, but some of the flowers have like an orange streak in them and it's quite sweet. Got some stock blooming. The hosta is gone for the year. The dahlia is gone for the year. This is looking a bit bare, isn't it? This oregano needs tidying up. Hydrangea still blooming. Echinacea started blooming. But yeah, a lot has come out because it's been, well, it's finished for the season. Carnations are still going. There's still bits and pieces. These little zinnias, they just keep going. Every time I come to cut them down, I see, oh, there's brand new buds and new growth, and I just leave it to do its thing. Stock, the Virginia creepers are completely bare. We need to tie them up properly. This is my escallonia and I love it. It's an apple blossom bush and it's just got little blossoms there. You can see I've pruned the lavender all the way back. Calendula is pretty much done in this bed, pulled it out, but the carnations looking very sad and tired and windswept. They're still blooming. Hydrangeas finished blooming. These are hollyhocks, they're doing pretty well. I'm hoping they'll flower next year. My Pyrrhus is doing its thing. I love this plant. It is called, you can see there, Pyrrhus. Pretty sure I've showed it before. It always does something. It does this, it gets red leaves sometimes, it has little white flowers sometimes. It looks interesting all the time and it's evergreen, so I really enjoy that. I'm going to put more of it into the garden. Greenhouse, you can see I've worked on the floor. There's a lot more done, but I ran out of log slices again. This little bed is looking very sad. There's things that was dumped there and not very good. This is new since my last video. I made a little bed here. There are asters not flowering. There are succulents, swan plants, and then there's coleus on the other side there. A couple of windfall apples. That is how the veggie garden's looking, a bit bare and sad. This is the new bed. This one's new since my last video. I did a tutorial. This is the bed I filmed while I filmed the tutorial. I'll link that here. That is full of carrots. In this bed I have sown parsnips and radishes, and very few are coming up. You can see a few radishes popping up there, but that didn't really take very well. This bed is full of weeds. This bed is full of weeds and some dull and a few leeks. This bed is now empty except for a few marigolds. This is what the tomatoes were in. This bed, chives, very sad looking spinach, and a few leftover marigolds. Inside the berry cage, oh, can't even open it. Beetroot, weeds, somewhere in there's a few blueberry bushes and weeds. I know, it's bad. I should have at least sown a cover crop, but I didn't. Dead sweet peas hanging on there. The weather has been appalling. It has been constantly raining, and when it hasn't been raining, I've been super busy, so just not into gardening right now. Okay, on this side we have planted the Photinia hedge, and they all seem to be quite happy despite some of the gale force winds and tropical cyclones and I don't know what all that we've had. So that's pretty good. This is golden beetroot, weeds, and some broccoli, I think. Kind of looking very scraggly, but it's not dead, so that's the thing. Weeds and weeds. And more weeds. My sage is looking alright. I probably need to prune this daisy bush back, or chrysanthemum, whatever it is. They're like little pink daisies. Weeds, weeds, and weeds. That's not a weed, that's a grisilia. My cosmos is dead. Peach tree is dropping its leaves. Pruned this hard last year and it didn't fruit this year. I think it was recovering, but it needs a prune again. It's put out a lot of water shoots and suckers and things. Okay, this is all still a mess. Another peach tree that needs trimming. Spinach, marigolds, spinach. And this is the little courtyard garden, looking a lot barer. There's some pansies straggling along and a few carnations, and the penstemon is still going. A few echinacea blooming. Had the heat pump installed and there was a bit of damage to the plants when they did that, but they're kind of coming to the end of their season anyway. I think this is all self-seeded alyssum, I'm not sure. These are forget-me-nots. Another echinacea. It's nice to have something flowering. And then the greenhouse, which you can see we've made that much progress. We've moved the doors into the greenhouse, still haven't hung them. Okay, moving along this way, this bed is full of weeds. I just ran out of mulch and kind of gave up, because unless you're mulching, you're just going to be weeding all the time and it's constantly still going to be full of weeds, so it's kind of pointless. So I just gave up. I thought I will deal with it in the spring. So some of these are weeds, some of these are plants. I'll deal with it next year. My hydrangea's doing well. That one's trying to bloom. Nothing much has changed here except my pile of compost is enormous. It's about thigh height. And that's because it's kind of rotted down somewhat. I keep adding to that. Let's see. Nothing new here. We didn't get any hazelnuts this year because I pruned those hard beginning of the year in the summer. These olive trees are always wanting to come back and be trees, but we need to trim them down, keep them as bushes. This is the grapevine a year later. It's kind of put out quite a bit of growth, so pleased with that. Obviously turning yellow because it's autumn, but it seems to be doing well. Olives. This tree I want to remove before the spring. It is an old plum tree and it is dead, so that can just go. Alright, here we have planted, there was one extra Photinia plant, and then we have some pink and white camellias alternating, but heaps of weeds. Those are hollyhocks. Cosmos on its way out. This is just chamomile and weeds, and yeah, mostly weeds. Kind of a bit sad. Oak tree losing its leaves. This pile is still here. We still need to get someone to do that. We just haven't, and it's really annoying me now. So coming around here, I actually want to build a deck all the way here up to there so that we can just kind of walk out onto the deck. This is a nice shady spot in the summer, and it's kind of private. If we have guests from the guest house, they can't see around to this spot. So that is my plan, but it's going to cost a lot of money, so that's going to have to wait. Nothing new around there. I have pruned that, I think it's a nectarine tree, not sure, but nothing much has changed there. Still haven't done this bed. Probably going to plant up this bed before we actually do the deck, so that's another spring project. Cosmos is dead. There is my poinsettia that I planted out, so the new growth is all green. Got some little forget-me-nots at the back there, some weeds, alyssum, pansies, and cosmos. And that's it. That is our garden at the end of autumn. A few straggling things on their way out, and a few things growing, but really not much. I haven't had time or inclination to put any winter crops in, so looking forward to the spring when I actually get that spring fever and want to garden all day long, but right now I just don't. Thanks for watching. See you next time.